What's up, Fort Worth family? It's Fort Worth Fabian. I'm back with a reaction for you guys, man. Today I have 4 creepy true stories to keep you up at night from Nightmare Files, featuring Mr. X Dreams and the Scarecast. So I'm not too familiar with Mr. X Dreams and the Scarecast. I guess these are some fairly new YouTubers. I guess that he's collaborating with on a collaborative effort just to support and push the channels. So this should be interesting, man. The first time listening to these guys. Of course, we know Nightmare Files doing what he does. Check out my horror playlist reaction. You can check out some of my other reactions I've done to Nightmare Files and some other horror narrators. With that being said, man, let's just hop right into this reaction, man. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Fort Worth Fabian. We're on the road to 1 million on this channel, man. Let's get it.
So I stepped out to get a better look at the man on the ground. As I did so, the other man stepped inside of my apartment. I just stared at him with our eyes locked. Nightmare Files. A few years ago, me and my now ex went on a weekend away together. We ended up staying at the Hilton Hotel, which was nice and we had a really good time. But I'll never forget the last night we stayed there. Throughout the trip, we kept seeing the same hotel worker. I mean, he did work there, but with it being quite a large hotel with many staff, you'd think you wouldn't run into the same one over and over. But there he was. He was there when we ate. He was there when we went to use the pool, and every time I walked past him, he'd give me the strangest look. I remember on our last day there, I left our room to get some more ice, and guess who appeared as I was at the ice dispenser? You guessed it, the same guy. I thought as we were leaving in the morning anyway, I tried to ease the unnecessary tension and smile at him, and I tried to make small talk. He just ignored me. He stared at me. Well, glared at me, intensely watching me as I finished filling up my bucket. And as I left, I very stupidly said, "Well, bye then," and offered a half wave. This visibly angered him. He actually started to grind his teeth. So I very briskly walked back to our room. Once I was back, I very casually locked our door, and I also put the chain on. Unnecessary, I know. Nobody without a key card can get in.
Smart.
But I just felt a bit creeped out by this guy.
Nah.
I didn't mention anything to my ex. I just wanted us to enjoy our last night as we did. Well, up until about 3 a.m. anyway. We were cuddling in bed, trying to sleep. And we both shot up when we heard what sounded like the doorknob starting to jiggle. We both looked at each other, surprised. But I assured her someone probably just had the wrong room. I was sure of that assumption until we heard that familiar beep and then the door unlocked. Someone had a key. The door slowly pushed open until it snagged on the chain, and upon realizing this, the would-be intruder swiftly closed it. We were both stunned, but I quickly snapped out of it, hoping that I could catch a glimpse of whoever it was. I ran to the peephole and peeked through it just in time to see a hotel employee briskly walking away. I could only see the back of them, but I knew exactly who it was. I wanted to tell the desk what had just happened, but my ex had begged me just to stay in the room with her, and that she didn't want to leave the room. So I told her to come with me, but she didn't want to, so I just stayed in there with her. We tried to sleep, but couldn't, and checked out first thing in the morning. I did mention it as we left, and they said that they'll look into it, but I never heard anything. The Hilton is a nice hotel, and truthfully, I'd love to go back one day. Hopefully, I'll never see that creepy guy again.
Bro, you can never be too safe. But he was talking about how that was overboard, or he did a little bit too much by putting on the keychain or the key lock, whatever that is. No, bro, you can never be too safe. You rather be safe than sorry, man. And lo and behold, that's basically what saved y'all that night. You know what I'm saying?
My name is Brandon. This story takes place when my father was a child. When he was 6 years old, he used to live in Northridge, California. More specifically, he lived in an apartment complex. Just to give you an idea of the setting, he used to live by 2 apartment complexes. In between them, there was a small but decently sized and well-put wooden playground area where kids could play. Since my father had recently gotten a new tricycle, my grandmother told my father that he could ride his trike along the pathway that led behind the complexes into the playground. One more thing before I continue. There's a decently sized alleyway in between the complexes, and you could get a good view of the playground area. While my dad was riding his tricycle, he stated that he heard a couple arguing. He quickly turned his head toward the alleyway. While my dad was figuring out what to do, silence came from the both of them as a middle-aged man yelled at them, "Get out of here, you damn kids!" As soon as he said that, the couple started sprinting towards my father. Acting quick, my father quickly rode his tricycle as fast as his little legs could carry him. My father stated that he vaguely heard the thundering sounds of a pair of footsteps. My father would never forget this memory. My father took a glance at who was chasing him, and this is where my father saw the most sickening image he could picture. The man chasing him was a middle-aged man with long, wiry gray hair, a crazed look in his eyes, and grotesque teeth. But that's what my father was scared of the most. He vaguely remembered the man was wielding some kind of blunt object in his hand. My father screamed as he peeled behind the complex and quickly rushed through his front door and locked it behind him. My grandmother saw everything. However, she didn't call the police. My father still doesn't know why my grandmother didn't call the cops. My father rarely brings his story up, saying that I was the third person to hear this from his end. The only reason why I'm telling this story is that there was a murder-suicide recently in Northridge, and one of the victims was one of his next-door neighbors. Police are still investigating this incident. Still don't know if it's connected, but I can only picture what would have happened if that man had caught up to my dad.
You wouldn't be here today, son. That story was,
I live in a not so large and not so friendly block of apartments. Well, it's really more of a converted old Victorian house, which is now modified into 5 small apartments per block. The main door is really crappy. It still hasn't been replaced, even though the entire building has been refurbished. This is the case despite the landlord promising it would be done by the new year. Anyway, this door doesn't lock when you close it. It has to be locked manually, either by the key from the outside or by the twisty lock on the inside. Unfortunately, people who live around me can be, well, let's say rude, and that's putting it kindly. They're always blasting music until late, setting off the fire alarm, which is linked in every apartment and is super loud and annoying. But most annoyingly, always, and I mean always, people are leaving the main door unlocked. This was something more than an annoyance, up until very recently, when something truly horrific happened to me. It was a Thursday night, and as usual, I was getting ready for bed at around 11 p.m. And as usual, despite it being a weekday, one of the surrounding apartments is having a party. Again, it's the weekday, and this was annoying because who throws a party on a Thursday? I mean, just wait for Friday. Not only that though, it's supposed to be a lockdown, so while other people can't see their own
don't tell me you want to throw a party, bro.
You get to keep everyone up. The music was noticeable, but not super loud from the comfort of my bedroom, thankfully. So I do what I always do when I go to bed. I put on some scary stories. I chill, and I try to go to sleep. So I finally managed to drift off at around 12 o'clock. and I'm awakened for the first time at around 2 because of the music. So I get up and I go to the bathroom, as I thought I might as well since I'm already up. So being annoyed and frustrated, I get back into bed and continue to enjoy my stories until I'm asleep. I'm suddenly awoken by loud stumps coming up the stairs. I live at the very top of the building, so the final staircase only leads to my door. Now I'm more than exhausted, more exhausted than angry. So I just lie there, awake, until I hear something that jolts my half-asleep brain fully awake. My door being pushed open. Someone is actually trying to push open my door and enter my apartment without my permission. Not hard or forcefully, mind you. Not like they were trying to break it, but they definitely were trying to gain entry. Now this may be because my mind was still foggy, or that I was still so tired that I didn't care, but I just stupidly assumed that someone in a drunken stupor was trying to get into the wrong place. Maybe the party was at a different top floor apartment, I thought. So
That's not the case, my boy.
Even when it happened again, I could hear scratching and mumbling on the other side. Stupid, I know, but I really just wanted to go to sleep. So the next morning, I woke up as normal and got ready for work as I opened my door to leave. And what do I see? 2 men asleep on the floor, blocking my way, and one of them bleeding from his head. Now, I'm not judgmental, or at least I try not to be, but these men were clearly homeless. I mean, the smell alone told me that. It was like having a ball of dirt slapped in your face. Not ideal for an early morning start. When I eventually got one of them to get up, the other failed to do so. He was clearly on drugs. It was completely out of it. Thankfully for me, the man was okay. I mean, I could have been rushed or anything, but he explained to me that he had been attacked and chased, so they took shelter here. So I offered to call the ambulance, which the men eventually accepted through a one-sided conversation of murmurs and groans. So I stepped out to get a better look at the man on the ground. As I did so, the other man stepped inside of my apartment. I just stared at him with our eyes locking. He reached in his pocket and I postured up ready to fight. He looked at the other man and he just shook his head as if he were saying no. And thankfully he just came back out without incident, and I locked my door. The ambulance eventually came. I informed my landlord of this, and he said that he would warn the other people living there that they must keep the door locked. But of course, every morning I go to work, the door is wide open with no consequence. But the real kicker is, because that guy was bleeding and was homeless, I didn't want to clean it myself and had to get professional cleaners to do so. And when I asked for my landlord to chip in, he just ignored me for days. And when he eventually got back to me, he said it's not that big of a deal. So I ended up paying for the whole thing myself, because I just didn't feel comfortable with that being around me. Now, I don't believe those men had intentions to hurt me. But what if I didn't lock my door? What if they had gotten in? When people are desperate and opportunities present
got your
themselves, you really don't know what people would do. 2 of them and 1 of me, asleep and alone, pretty scary when you think about it, right?
Sleep paralysis. This happened during the summer of 2019. My health was deteriorating at the time, mostly due to struggles with mental health. I was going through mental and emotional breakdowns, even having nightmares. All that stress made for an extremely rough spring semester in college. I put a lot of stress on myself trying to improve my grades. I also have borderline personality disorder and depression, which really sucks. My best friend was there for me throughout all my problems. I was happy he was there, but I felt bad since he had a lot on his plate at the time as well. One Friday night, I was a bit more tired and stressed out than usual. I had been out looking for a job to keep myself busy during the summer. The day was full of one rejection after another, so I was feeling really down in general. I just kind of wanted the day to be over already, so I decided to go to bed early. At around 5 a.m. in the morning, I suddenly woke up. The first thing I noticed was that I couldn't move my body at all. I was scared shitless. I tried calling for my younger brother to help, but I couldn't get a word out. Out of nowhere, in a dark corner of my room, I thought I saw something, an outline. As I stared into the black spot, I could have sworn it was a cat. Mind you, I have no pets in my home, so it was already a bit disturbing to see. As my vision became clearer, the shape I was staring at became more defined. What I saw was the shadowy form of a humanoid hand coming toward me. I was petrified. But no matter how hard I tried, no matter how desperately I wanted to, I could not scream. The dark hand floated closer and grabbed my ankle. Somehow, whatever was stopping me from crying out released its grip on my lungs. I screamed like a banshee. As my voice rang out, the hand suddenly faded away. I know the scream was real because it woke my younger brother up. I went back to sleep for a few hours until my alarm went off. Around 9 a.m., my brother came into my room. I asked him if he had heard me screaming earlier, and he said he had. I apologized, feeling a bit guilty. I went to my best friend's house later on and explained what happened. He told me the stress and depression was probably causing me to suffer sleep paralysis. From that day on, he always checked in on me to make sure I wasn't having any nightmares or night terrors. I don't think I'll ever forget that experience. It was my first time dealing with sleep paralysis. The situation was so scary that it took me a while before I could sleep on my own again. I still have the lingering fear that one day it might happen again. Oddly enough, a week after that experience, I suffered a heart attack, which is kind of strange for a 21-year-old woman. Thankfully, though, I'm now healthy and doing much better than before. Anyway, I hope that whoever you are, you never have to live through something so terrifying as that. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
So that's Nightmare Files, 4 creepy true stories to keep you up at night. Those definitely would not keep me up at night, man. I ain't gonna cap. Nightmare Files has kind of been falling off to me, man. Mr. Nightmare is my go-to guy in unit. And then Let's Read, of course. Everybody else, I don't know, man. The stories ain't been that consistent. But let me know y'all's thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @ForwardFabo, man. We're on the road to 1 million subscribers. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.